Hey guys, tonight we slip into worn sandals, cinch up a woven sash, and take our first steps down a starlit Andean path. You're breathing clouds, heart already thudding like a war drum, because it's pitch black, you're alone, and there are 1,000 switchbacks between you and the next temp. Somewhere far ahead, a relay partner waits. Behind you, the last message you carried is now changing the lives of people you'll never meet. Welcome to life as a Chaski and Inca messenger, and fair warning, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're tuning in from and what time it is. I always love reading that. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, made of precisely cut stones that form a royal road Copac own, stretching like a spine through the entire empire. But even imperial pavement can't smooth out a vertical climb at 3,000 meters above sea level. The air is thin, your nose is numb, and there's an unmistakable sound behind you. Just the wind. Or another messenger catching up, or worse, something wild. You grip your feathered relay baton tighter, a carved wooden token wrapped in sacred textiles, and push forward. This isn't your first night run, but each one still feels like the first cold, endless, and just a bit cursed. Somewhere up ahead, a Tampua way station is waiting with a tiny fire, maybe even hot chicha if you're lucky. But you've got another 6 kilometers of sheer incline first. And oh yes, the path narrows to barely the width of your foot, hugging cliffs that drop into invisible ravines. The moon is just bright enough to sketch the edge. Not helpful, just mocking. You run anyway, because that's what a Chaski does. You are the pulse of the empire, the Inca's living breath. From Quito in the north to Santiago in the south, more than 25,000 miles of road depend on feet like yours. Not wheels, not horses, just lungs, legs, and a body trained to endure. The empire expects you to cross up to 150 kilometers a day. You only run one segment at a time, yes, but at a speed modern ultramarathoners would sweat over. Every step has to count. There's no GPS, no margin for error, and definitely no calling in sick. One slip, and you're gone, literally. Lost down a canyon, or buried in a snowdrift, or swallowed by a jungle trail that closes behind you like a leafy mouth. The message you're carrying tonight, you don't know what it says. Chaskis aren't allowed to read them unless they're also literate in Kapu, the system of knots used for record keeping and communication. But you can tell this one's important by the gold threading in the band, the weight of the token. It's going to a regional governor by dawn, and if you're late, someone's getting flayed. Maybe not you, but maybe your breath fogs with every exhale. The thin air makes your chest feel hollow, like your lungs are collapsing in slow motion. You chew another wad of coca leaves, the Inca's sacred solution to fatigue, altitude, and spiritual unworthiness. Your mouth goes numb. That's good. If it tingles, it means you're still alive. A fox darts across the path. You nearly trip. It vanishes into the brush without a sound, like it was never there. You mutter a quick charm under your breath, because animals crossing your path at night can be a bad omen. Chaski lore is filled with little rules like that: left foot first, never look back, and always touch the ground before entering a temple. You hit the switchback. Legs screaming now, quads locking. The slope here turns cruel ancient stone steps carved into the mountain, each one just a bit too steep to walk, a bit too short to run. So you'll do this half hop, half crawl that makes you feel like a llama with a limp. Your heart wants to stop, but it won't, not yet. One hand presses against the wall of the mountain for balance. The stone is cold and wet, slick with condensation. You imagine the faces of your ancestors carved into the rock, watching, judging, cheering. Or maybe you're hallucinating again. No one tells you that happens the first few weeks. Historians still argue whether Chaskis were chosen or volunteered. But once you're in, it's a lifetime. The empire invests too much in you to let you quit. You were probably picked as a kid, spotted sprinting up some hillside barefoot with a bundle of firewood, and recruited by a local steward. Fast feet, he said. Strong lungs. Your village was proud. Until they realized it meant you'd rarely come home again. The Tampu comes into view at last. Just a dim orange flicker behind a stone wall. It's perched on the edge of a cliff, because of course it is. You slam into the doorway, chest heaving, sweat freezing on your back. The other Chaski is already there, barely older than you, grinning through cracked lips. You toss him the baton. He catches it, salutes, and vanishes into the dark. Just like that, your run is over. Well, for now. You collapse by the fire. Someone hands you a gourd of water and a pinch of salt. You don't ask where the salt came from. Could be from the sea. Could be scraped from a llama's flank. Either way, it tastes like life. The Tampa keeper offers you a straw mat. You accept it like a king accepts tribute. The ground feels softer than any palace floor. You close your eyes, knowing you'll be woken again before sunrise. Because this is just the start. Your rest doesn't last, and never does. Long before dawn stains the mountains pink, the Tampu keeper shakes your shoulder. No words, just a look. That sharp tilt of the chin, that means you're up. Your knees protest as you stand. Every joint is a little rusty now, like your bones were dipped in cold bronze overnight. You stretch until your back cracks, stuff another wad of coca leaves in your cheek, and head outside into the cruel pre-dawn chill. The stars are still out, bright, judgmental. Today is your first official day at Chaski training, the brutal regimen designed to turn scrawny teenagers into the muscle-legged couriers of empire. What you did last night, that was just delivery. This is the boot camp that makes you wish you'd been born a potter's apprentice instead. You arrive at the training Tampu before sunrise, heart thudding with a mix of fear and dumb hope. Maybe it won't be that bad. Maybe there will be warm food, a few helpful tips, a friendly mentor. There isn't. Instead, a thick-necked trainer with an expression carved from rock greets you with a grunt. He wears a tunic dyed in red and yellow, the colors of the royal service, and he carries a stick that never quite rests on the ground. The moment your sandal touches the Tampu threshold, he barks. Run, you do. The others are already sprinting, half a dozen boys your age and a couple of lean-limbed girls, too. Chaskis don't discriminate. If you can outrun a condor's shadow, you're in. If not, you're meat for the vultures. Your first obstacle is the llama maze. No one warned you about it. A tight dirt trail flanked with cranky pack animals, each one trained to block, spit, or but if you get too close. Some wear bells around their necks that jangle like mocking laughter. One glares at you as if daring you to try. You duck, swerve, slide through the maze. One llama lands, a glob of spit square in your eye. You don't stop. That's the first rule. Never stop moving. Next comes the altitude sprint. You're handed a sack of stones 10 pounds, easy, and told to run uphill until you hit the marker. It's a little red flag stuck in the snow, 300 meters above you. Straight up. Your lungs start burning after 30 steps. The snow line doesn't help. It slips under your sandals, trying to suck you down like quicksand. You imagine the trainer behind you, holding his stick like a spear. It doesn't help. You push. You pass the girl with braids. She's got blood on her lip from biting it too hard. You pass the boy with the limp, the one who started strong but faltered when the slope turned mean. Your vision narrows to the flag, and when you touch it, your fingers trembling. There's no applause, just another command. Back down. You barely feel your legs anymore, but they carry you. Somehow. Historians still argue whether this Chaski training was standardized or localized. Some say each region had its own brutal rituals. Others think the capital enforced uniform tests. Either way, you now understand why only a small fraction of runners ever make it into the permanent cause. Lunch is a lie. You get a lump of Sankey pasted, dense, sour fruit concentrate wrapped in a leaf and a few kernels of roasted corn. No meat, no rest. The trainers believe in lean bodies and leaner expectations. You sit on a cold stone and try not to look miserable. Someone next to you whispers, "My cousin's cousin died during the river crossing." You nod like that's perfectly normal. Because it is, after lunch, not school. Your hands are raw from gripping rock and sling. Now you're expected to learn the Kipo system, the Empire's baffling code of knots and string colors. It's not just for records. Chaskis sometimes carry these intricate messages, and if you can't read even the basics, you're a liability. They give you a string with 3 knots and say, "What does it mean?" You guessed, corn storage in Cusco. The instructor sighs, grabs the string, and whacks you with it. It means, don't touch the royal llamas. Great noted. Even modern scholars are still baffled by Was it just numbers? Was it a mnemonic system for storytelling? Some strings have narrative flow, others clearly encode quantities. The truth may have been lost with the scribes who died during the Spanish invasions. By sunset, your legs are jelly, your hands are bruised, and your ego is somewhere under a llama's hoof, but you're still standing. That's something. You've seen 3 boys already, dismissed 1 for crying, 1 for limping, and 1 for mouthing off. They were escorted out by tempo guards. Not gently. That night, you sleep in a long house with the others. Straw mats. 1 scratchy blanket per person. Someone's already snoring. Another is softly chanting a protective prayer. You do neither. You just stare at the ceiling beams and feel your muscles twitch, as if still running. The cold creeps in through the gaps in the walls, curling around your feet like a ghost. You curl tighter, press your knees to your chest, and whisper, just get through tomorrow. Outside, the Andes rise like sleeping gods, silent and vast. You wonder how long before you get to run again, and how long before your body forgets how to stop. By the third week, your legs no longer scream, they mutter. A constant, dull ache that settles into the bones like an unwanted roommate. You're leaner now. Tougher. Faster. Your ribs show. Your eyes don't flinch at sunrise drills or midnight wake-up runs. And, most importantly, you've stopped throwing up every time you cross a mountain pass. Congratulations. You're officially part of the Inca's most underappreciated workforce. You are now the Empire's internet. Not metaphorically, literally. In a world without horses, wheels, or riding as we know it, messages travel only as fast as the man carrying them. You are the human bandwidth between cities. Your legs transmit imperial orders, military strategy, census data, tax lists, and the occasional royal shopping note. Want purple feathers from the jungle. Better hope the Chaski doesn't trip on the way back. Each day, your job is clear. Run fast, don't die, and don't drop the message. This morning, you're stationed at a relay tampu high in the village. It's one of thousands scattered along the Kapar cone, spaced every 6 to 9 kilometers, just close enough for a sprint, just far enough to be painful. From your perch, you can see clouds drifting like sea foam below you. Llamas graze nearby, unbothered by gravity or your existential despair. You chew coca leaves, bounce on the balls of your feet, and wait for the signal dender. A flicker down the path. A shadow moving faster than anything natural. You leap to position. The incoming runner bursts through the mist, dripping sweat and barely breathing. He doesn't even stop. Just thrusts the kipu cord into your hands and collapses by the stone basin, gulping down fermented chicha like it's ambrosia. You're already gone. Your sandals slap stone. The road curves like a serpent through mountain ribs. Below, the forest hums with unseen life. You know better than to look. Distraction is death. You fix your eyes on the path ahead and fly. The kipu bounces against your chest. This one's different, woven with black and red fibers, complicated knots, extra twists. Maybe a battle report. Maybe a census of rebellion. Maybe someone forgot how many guinea pigs they owed the state. Doesn't matter. Your job is delivery, not interpretation. But part of you itches to know, because there are stories of rogue Chaskismen who learned to read the chords and rewrote them. Mid-route saboteurs, myths, probably. Still, the Inca didn't take chances. Some say the chords are treated with a powder that stains fingers blue for days, a telltale sign of message tampering. No pressure. Your thighs burn, your chest wheezes. The air is thin and cruel, like breathing through cloth. But you keep moving. Why? Because if you stop, the entire empire will... This is not a metaphor. The Inca state runs on information, and information runs on you. There's a story the older runners tell half-truth, half-legend about the Tombomache Paniga. A misdelivered message led to a garrison being 20 days late to a northern rebellion. The result? A slaughter so thorough, they say the llamas still refuse to graze near the ruins. You do not want to be the next Tombomache. By midday, you're soaked in sweat, dirt caking your calves, sandals worn thin. But the tampu comes into view. You roar as you approach, half from pride, half from agony. The waiting runner jumps to his feet. You toss him the kipu like a curse, and just like that, your leg of the route is done. You bend over, spit, and look around. This tampu is different, nicer, bigger stone blocks, a real thatched roof, a fire already burning. That can only mean one thing. Imperial proximity. You're close to a major center, possibly Cusco, which also means you're under extra scrutiny. The tampu keeper eyes your hands, checks for blue. You pass, barely. You sit with the other runners, legs trembling, eyes. Someone passes a bowl of maca root stimulant of choice for Chaskis who've already burned through their coke. You chew, hoping it'll dull the pulsing in your knees. Next to you, a veteran leans over. He's older, skin like bark, eyes like obsidian. You ever drop a cord? He asks. You shake your head. Good, he says. Don't. They don't send for you again if you do. They send for your mother. The silence after that is long. You sip water slowly, like you're drinking time. Historians still argue about how Kipu information was encrypted, if at all. Some believe there were layers of meaning. The knot's position, direction, color, spin. Others say only trained elites could decipher them, meaning most Chaskis like you were blind messengers, runners in the dark. But it doesn't stop you from wondering, what did you just carry? What lives changed because of it? You fall asleep that night dreaming of red knots, and wake before dawn, already on your feet again. Because the next message waits, and so does the Empire. The first time you sleep in a tampu and hear rats scratching inside the walls, you think it's just wind. But then you feel the tickle, something warm and whiskered skittering across your ankle, and your body launches upright like a startled cat. Welcome to Stone Hut Luxury Chaski Edition. You can't really blame the rats. They were here before the tampu was built. These shelters dart the Empire's road system, placed at such precise intervals that it makes you suspicious. The Inca employed engineers with wings, but precision doesn't equal comfort. Most hampas are rough rectangles of stone, with a single thatch roof, a central fire pit, and a few reed mats, tossed on hard floors. Privacy none, beds, just packed dirt. And the only sound at night, besides the hiss of wind slipping through gaps in the stone, is the relentless chewing of rodents who think your food pouch is their divine inheritance. Still, tampas are your lifeline. They're stocked with supplies: bali, dried corn, stale cakes, salted meat if you're lucky. Sometimes, a llama in the pen outside. Water from the nearest spring, unless it's frozen. And always, firewood just dry enough to tease you, but never quite catch until you're shaking with cold and frustration. Tonight, you're sharing space with 3 other runners, all asleep already. One mumbles in his sleep, another drools openly. The third might actually be dead, but no one wants to poke him in case he wakes up swinging. You lie there, body twitching, too sore, to move, too exhausted, to sleep. Outside, the moonlight turns the tampu's doorway into a glowing square. A wind kicks up and carries a sound you know to well the shriek of a fox, or maybe a mountain lion. You can't be sure. The jungle is nearby, and the things that live on the edge of it don't care about human designations like messenger or imperial servant. They care if you're edible. Your sandals rest near the fire, too close, and now the soles are softening in the heat. Rookie mistake. You tug them away and blow on them, as if your breath will restore the dense leather weave. It won't. You'll have to fix them tomorrow. Again, using cactus thread and patience. It occurs to you, briefly, that messengers in Rome or Greece probably had better infrastructure. Paved roads, horses, taverns, warm bread. You get rocks and rodents. The next morning, you leave the tampu before the sun rises. Not because you want to, but because the tampu keeper kicks you out. He's got a new batch of runners arriving, and this isn't a bed. You tie your travel sash, check the relay pouch for contents, and start walking toward your next route point. Your breakfast: a bite of maize cake, dense, dry, and aggressively tasteless. You chase it with cold water and a chunk of sea carcass and dried meat that may or may not be alpaca. It's hard as bone and tastes like salted despair. There's no coffee, no tea, just the chew of coca leaves to numb your jaw and quiet your hunger. For energy, you rely on routine, on motion, on the grim knowledge that the only thing waiting at the next tampu is another stretch of pain and possibly a fire that someone else already peed on. You pass through a narrow valley where the cliffs feel close enough to touch, and the road suddenly vanishes beneath a stone slide last. Weeks' rainstorm has taken out a chunk of the path. This isn't a surprise. The road constantly tries to reclaim itself, and you're expected to improvise. You climb over jagged rock, scrape your palm open on a hidden shard, and keep moving. Blood trickles down your wrist. The Kipu must not be stained. This is the Inca Empire's reality. Glorious roads, yes, but maintained by the feet of people like you, who are considered replaceable if not exactly expendable. You're trained, sure, you're fast, you're useful, but you're still a tool, and tools break. Historians still argue whether tampu keepers were sympathetic to Chaskis or simply cogs in a bureaucratic machine. Some records suggest they left treats for elite messengers, fresh fruit, warm water. Others say many hoarded supplies or traded them under the table. You've experienced both. Once, you were given a bundle of toasted corn by a kindly old woman. Another time, the tampu keeper pretended to be asleep until you left in the dark, stomach hollow. And that's just how it is. Midday heat settles like a stone blanket. You strip to your waist and keep running. The sun above the Andes isn't gentle. It roasts you while the wind chills you from below. You're basically being boiled and frozen at once. As you descend into lower elevations, bugs emerge. First flies, then mosquitoes, then a cloud of gnats that coats your face like sticky rice. You swat and run and breathe through clenched teeth. At your next tampoo, you find one runner already there, nursing a twisted ankle. He looks up at you, miserable. Jaguar, he says, deadpan. You both know that's code. It could mean an actual jaguar, it could mean a trap on the road, or it could mean he made a mistake and doesn't want to talk about it. You nod, like you understand. Because you do. You settle beside the tampoo wall. Your body is a hive of aches. You notice a rip in your sash where the relay pouch attaches. If it had torn during the run, the message might have been lost. You sew it closed, using a cactus needle and your own hair. Tonight, you'll try to sleep again. The rats will be back. The wind will howl, but you'll be ready. This is home now. You wake up, chewing air, heart racing. It takes a few seconds to remember you're not running, you're lying flat, back stiff as a frozen board, a reed mat digging into your spine. The tampoo is quiet, aside from the soft click-click of rodents inspecting your food pouch again. But it's not fear that woke you. It's hunger. Your stomach's... You pull the maize cake from your pouch and stare at it like it personally insulted your family. It's hard as stone, dry as a sun-bleached bone, and has all the flavor of warm dust. But its calories, kind of. You break off a chunk and choke it down, chewing until your jaw clicks. You chase it with a mouthful of coca leaves. You've learned to chew them without grimacing now. The bitter, numbing tingle spreads over your tongue, a strange comfort. It softens the edges of pain and turns exhaustion into something slightly more manageable, like sprinting while half asleep instead of fully dying. Today's route is long. You were told the next tampoo is 12 kilometers away, uphill through rock. And if the sun gets high before you arrive, the ground will turn hot enough to blister the soles of your feet. There is no backup plan, no safety net, just you, your sandals, and a stomach that still feels like it's missing a few days' worth of meals. By now, you know the Inca road diet well. It's simple. Roasted maize, dried beans, cold potatoes, sometimes fruit, if you're lucky enough to run through the valleys where they grow. And then there's khaki dried meat hacked from llamas or alpacas, salted until it's chewy as old rope and vaguely bitter. Once you tried to trade for better food at a market near the coast. You handed over your belt knife for a tamale. It was still warm. You almost cried eating it. But when your captain found out, he nearly threw you off the mountain. You learned your lesson. The message comes first. The Chaski eats last. Later that same day, you're halfway through the route, lungs burning, when a stomach cramp doubles you over. You drop to your knees, holding your middle like it's about to fall out. A wave of dizziness hits nets, then heat bright. Blinding heat. You've been running in direct sunlight for hours. The coca helps dull the altitude sickness, but not dehydration. Your lips are cracked. Your eyes sting with salt. You reach for your water. It's empty. You scan the trail ahead. Nothing. Just rocks. A vulture circling above, and the faint outline of stone steps leading higher. You remember a trick an older Chaski taught. You follow the birds. If they cluster low to the ground, if they spiral above your head, they're just waiting for you to collapse. Encouraging. You press on, legs shaking. The heat isn't just heat now. It's pressure, like the sun itself is sitting on your back, roasting you slowly. Your pace slows to a stagger. You start counting steps out loud. 1, 2, 3. At 20, you stop to retch. Nothing comes out. You haven't eaten enough to throw up. Eventually, there's no food. Just a cold fire pit and a bucket of rainwater left by the keeper. You drink from it like a wild animal, face in the bowl, not caring that it tastes vaguely like ash and wet leather. Then you collapse. Right there, in the tampoo doorway, not even bothering to crawl to your mat. A few hours later, the sun sets. The world cools. You sit up slowly, feeling the pounding behind your eyes recede. You reach into your pouch and pull out something you've been saving. A lump of mocha peach candy from the jungle. It's shriveled and sticky, but sweet. So sweet, you almost cry again. Historians still argue over the extent of food support for Chaskis. Some records imply a tight, well-organized supply system. Others suggest a more improvisational survival, game each runner, scavenging, bartering, and hoarding what they could. Based on your current dinner of damp corn and secret peach, you'd say it's a little of both. The Empire supports you, but you're always walking the line between nourishment and starvation. There's a superstition among messengers that says if your stomach growls during a relay, the spirit of the message will abandon you. You've learned to stay quiet. Even hungry, even desperate, you hum softly instead of complaining. You start doing that now. A soft tune your mother used to sing while pounding maize into dew. You can't remember the words, just the rhythm. The tampu flickers with a dim fire. Someone else must have arrived while you slept. A pair of sandals sit by the door larger than yours. Probably a northern runner, judging by the shell bead sewn into the strap. You nod at him once. He nods back. No words are exchanged. You both chew coca and stare into the flames. This is dinner. Tomorrow, you'll run again. You're staring at a tangle of string that looks like the love child of a fishing net and a very stressed out spider. It's your kipu for the day, and no, you still don't understand it. The instructor, an older man with 2 missing teeth and 0 tolerance for stupidity, waves his hand impatiently. What does this not say? He asks again, tapping the cord with a cracked fingernail. You stare harder. It's beige string, 5 vertical cords, loops, clusters, and something that might be a maize tax collection. You guess. Wop. The cord smacks your forehead. It says change in llama distribution. Welcome to your ongoing education in the Inca Kipu system, a communication method so complex that even modern scholars with PhDs and laser scanners still debate what half of it meant. You're expected to figure it out using only dirt, string, and hope. The Kipu or Kipu is more than just knots. It's a code, a language, a record-keeping tool. Each knot has a type single long each has position, direction, spin, color, chord, length. Combine those factors, and suddenly a bundle of twine can tell you how many people live in a village, how many potatoes are in storage, or how many workers were sent to a royal building site. Even now, historians still argue whether Kipu were purely numeric, or if some elite scribes used them to record narratives. There's no Inca Rosetta Stone, no secret decoder, just trial, error, and conflicting theories. One archaeologist says they're calendars, another swears they're censuses, a third believes some chords might encode music. You've heard stranger ideas, but none of that helps when your instructor shoves a fresh chord into your hands and says, "This one's going to the coast, don't mess it up." So you memorize it. You run your fingers over the knots, feeling the number of twists, noting the spacing. You whisper it to yourself like a spell. Red chord, 4 knots, spin left. Brown chord, 3, then a long loop. You repeat it a dozen times until the pattern sinks into your muscle memory. Because here's the secret, many Chaskis don't actually read quick, they memorize the structure, like dancers memorizing steps. You may not understand what it says, but you can recognize if it changes, and that's what matters. Tampering is deadly serious. You've heard the stories, runners found dead on the roadside, their cords reknotted in ways they never should be. One had a message that, when deciphered, ordered troops to abandon their post. Treason. Executions followed. Another Chaski was accused of no traversal, a way to flip the messages, meaning he denied everything. They still cut off his fingers, so you triple check your cord. Then you check it again. Later that day, your assignment takes you down into the sacred valley, where the air is thicker and the people talk faster. You carry 2 quippers, 1 official, 1 deep. No one tells you which is which. That's on purpose. The road here is smoother, lined with terraced farmland. You pass a family harvesting beans, their children waving at you like you're a visiting prince. You nod, but don't stop. Chaskis never stop, not unless their feet are broken or their cargo is gone. A group of Yanakuna state laborers walk past you, go in the opposite direction, balancing baskets on their backs. One glances at your cord bundle and gives a low whistle. That's a war message, he mutters. You pretend not to hear. You're not supposed to react, but your hand tightens on the relay pouch anyway. The closer you get to the coast, the more humid the air becomes. The salt tanks creeps into your nose, and your skin starts to feel sticky. You reach the next tampu by dusk and pass the kipu to your replacement. He checks the cords, his fingers moving fast, his brow furrowed. He says nothing. You both nod. The message continues its journey. You collapse against the tampu wall, letting your legs throb in peace. Later that night, another messenger shows you a kipu training trick. He's tied knots into his own hair braids, practicing subtle changes in spin and spacing while he sleeps. His scalp looks like a conspiracy theory. You laugh, and he shrugs. Better than forgetting me. You fall asleep wondering if there are hidden messages woven into everything, the tampu walls, the road beneath you, the rhythm of your footsteps. Maybe this whole empire is a kipu and you're just one knot. The first time you step into the jungle, the road disappears under your feet like a magician's trick. One moment you're trotting along a dusty stone path, the next you're knee-deep in mud that smells like old eggs and regret. Welcome to the lowland. You've heard rumors from other Chaski staleys of steaming trails, mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds, vines that try to drag you sideways, and air so wet you could drink it. They weren't exaggerating. Within 5 minutes, your legs are coated in a thick brown paste. Every step makes a squelching sound like you're walking through someone's intestines. Your sandals are useless here, slick and flopping, barely clinging to your feet. You stop just long enough to tie them tighter with a strip of cactus fiber. Then you keep moving, because the jungle might seem slow and lazy from above, but the truth is, it swallows messengers, and no one comes to dig you out. The canopy closes overhead, turning day into a green twilight. Light filters down in broken shards. You can't see the sky, you can barely see your own hands. Vines curl from the trees like snakes mid-dream. Birds screech, frogs bellow, and something in the bushes makes a deep snorting sound you decide not to investigate. And the bugs alla help you. The bugs, they don't care about your rank, your speed, your glorious imperial service. They just want your sweat, your blood, your eyeballs, if they're lucky. A cloud of black gnats dances in front of your face, and no amount of waving will make them stop. You wrap a cloth around your nose and mouth and keep your eyes squinted into slits. This route was supposed to be short, but no one told you that short in the jungle means 10 kilometers of slalom between tree roots, river crossings, and unstable footbridges made from soggy logs that squish like rotten fruit underfoot. At one point, you reach a river so wide, there's no way across. No bridge, no boat, no problem. You strip down, wrap the quipu cord in waxed cloth, and shove it into your hair bun, praying it stays dry. Then you wade in, boots tied to your sash. Halfway across, the water rises to your chest. Something brushes your leg. You don't look, you just swim. Somewhere along the riverbank, there's a carved totem stone. It's slick with moss, but still visible. A serpent head. Locals say it marks the spot where a jungle spirit devoured a slow Chaski. Others say it's just a boundary marker. Either way, you nod as you pass, because you're not stupid enough to risk insulting whatever it is. Historians still argue whether jungle routes were widely used or reserved for rare assignments. Some believe only the strongest Chaskis were ever sent into the lowlands, tasked with reaching distant trade towns or outposts in the tropics. Others think these runs were rotated, like punishment duty. Honestly, it feels like both. You pass a Kirupa villager, place built on stilts, huts with thatched roofs, kids peeking out through bamboo slats. A dog barks at you. A man waves a spear and says something in a dialect you don't understand. You don't stop. Just raise your hand and keep running. The jungle can be welcoming. It can also be suspicious of strangers. You eat while walking. Half a roasted plantain. The sticky fruit slides down your throat like warm glue, but it keeps your legs moving. You chew coca for the rest. It doesn't make you strong. It makes you numb, which is just as good. At one point, the road veers toward a clearing, and you spot a ceiba tree as wide as a house. Its roots rise like frozen waves, and there's something painted on its trunk symbols, in red dye. Warning, maybe, or a prayer. You step carefully around it, sandals whispering against the roots. A light drizzle begins. Warm rain, not like the freezing mountain stuff. This is jungle rain. It soaks your tunic in seconds, turns the trail even slicker, and makes every leaf shine like it's been oiled. By late afternoon, you finally reach a town. It's raised on stilts, with a thatch roof and a wooden ladder, not the stone huts you're used to. A small fire smokes lazily nearby. The keeper nods from the platform, and you toss him the waxed quipu pouch without a word. He nods again. You don't ask questions. You just peel off your soaked sash, hang it too dry, and crawl into the hammock inside. It creaks under your weight but doesn't break. Small victories. As you lie back, watching the geckos crawl across the beams, you wonder if there are messengers in other empires who have it this hard. Maybe in China, they ride horses. In Rome, maybe they had carts and inns and baths. But here, in the belly of the jungle, you are a ghost moving between trees. A whisper carrying words no one else can read. You've survived the jungle. Barely. Now the terrain shifts again, this time upward, dramatically. You're staring at a narrow trail that's not really a trail. It's a line of stone slabs bolted into the side of a cliff, and it ends at a bridge made entirely of grass. Welcome to one of the Inca's most terrifying marvels. The Cusa. It's a rope bridge woven from itchy grass and nothing else spanning. A canyon so deep that clouds pass through its middle like wandering sheep. You pause at the edge, not because you're afraid, of course, but because you are assessing the wind and the knots and the fact that there's nothing between you and a fall of about 200 meters, except some suspiciously squeaky tension cables. You've crossed these before. They're part of the job, but that doesn't make it better, because every bridge is maintained by local villagers, who follow sacred rituals to keep them strong. And if a single chord phrase, well, let's just say you don't want to end your career as a footnote in a tragedy about maintenance, negligence, you adjust your sash, tighten your pouch, step lightly onto the bridge. Immediately it sways. Not gently, not like a hammock, like a drunk giant just yanked one side. You grip the side rope's gorse braids as thick as your forearm and start moving. One foot after the other, eyes forward. Do not look down. Of course you do. There's the river below, thread thin, too far to judge how fast it's moving. Vultures circle above you, probably wondering if they're about to get lunch. Halfway across, the wind picks up. The entire bridge twists like a ribbon. You crouch, pressing low, hugging the side ropes with both arms, and whispering the names of every ancestor you can remember. Eventually, you crawl the last few meters, sweaty, shaking, but alive. And on the other side, more stairs, because, of course there are. The Andes never let you relax. They rise and fall like a storm frozen in stone. Just when you think you've found a flat stretch, the path tilts upward again. Some days, you gain and lose 3,000 vertical feet in a single shift. It's said that the Inca engineers were obsessed with slope efficiency. Some of their staircases are perfectly angled, mathematically satisfying. Others feel like they were designed by demons. You climb for hours. The road is solid, paved with centuries-old stones that click softly beneath your sandals. They hold your weight without shifting. Not bad for ancient infrastructure. And still, you're exhausted. The air thins again. The coca leaf bundle you've been chewing turns dry in your mouth. You spit it out and tuck in a new wad. Your cheek goes numb. Good, that means it's working. Ahead, a familiar landmark. A stone pillar, carved with sun symbols and wrapped in red thread. Not officially, but every Chaski knows it. You collapse against it like a pilgrim clinging to a shrine. Here, you sip your water just a little and pull out a treat. Crunchy, salty, and vaguely comforting. A fellow runner approaches from the opposite direction. His sandals are newer than yours. He nods. You nod back. That's the closest thing to a hug Chaskis are allowed. Road behind you? He asks. Flooded mud to the knees. You swap info bridge conditions, Tampu news, number of jaguar sightings. Then he hands you a small cord. Backup message. He says, it needs to go north, quietly. And just like that, you're carrying 2 messages now. One in the open, one hidden under your tunic. Double burden, double the danger. Historians still argue whether rope bridges were symbolic as well as functional. Some believe they represented transitions between realms, between life and death. After all, the bridges had their own rituals, their own gods. Falling from one was considered an ill omen for the region. You wonder what it says about you that you've crossed for in the last month. At night, you reach a tampu built into a cliffside. It has a stone hearth. And miracle of miracles, a warm stew waiting. Probably potato, possibly jama. You don't ask. You eat. The keeper offers a bedroll with extra wool stuffing. You thank him. He grunts. As you drift off, you feel the sting in your calves from the day's climbs. Your shoulders ache from bracing against the bridge wind. Your mouth is dry, your hands cracked, your eyes heavy. And still, you dream of stone steps, of swinging bridges, of messages carried between worlds. You've made it, not to a destination, exactly, but to a status. After months of running, climbing, dodging wild animals, surviving food that tastes like sun-dried gravel, and sleeping in tampas that double as rat hotels, you've officially been called an elite Chaski. And what does that get you? Blisters, but also respect. You're now trusted with longer routes, higher risk messages, and sometimes actual interaction with officials in the name of the Sapa Inca himself. It's not like you get your face on a wall or anything, but people step out of your way now. Tampu keepers nod with a little more speed. Some even offer honeyed maize or warm stew without you having to ask twice. Today's message is wrapped in a special textile dark green with golden thread. That means it's sensitive. Not necessarily top secret, but important. You tuck it carefully under your sash and check your supplies twice. Coca, check. Water. Not enough. But check sandals. Repaired last night with cactus fiber and prayer. Then you run. The route takes you through the central spine of the empire, where roads widen and villages get more formal. Here, you're a familiar sight. Kids yell shout as you pass, like you're a hero in a myth. Sometimes, they run alongside you for a few strides, before collapsing and you give one of them a string bracelet. It's something you've carried for weeks, knotted during long tamper nights. The girl beams. Her father waves from a field. You don't stop, because this is the part of the job people envy. The prestige. The visibility. You're a visible thread tying this whole empire together. But they don't see the fitra cracked, a mess of bruised nails and sandal blisters. They don't smell your tunic after a 6-day relay. They just see the speed, and maybe the fungal infections. Yes, it turns out running hundreds of kilometers on dirt paths, while soaking wet, leads to some interesting problems. Your toes itch constantly now. There's a patch on your leg that's turning colors, and no matter how many leaves or salves you rub on it, it doesn't stop peeling. One Tampu keeper gives you a poultice made of river moss and llama grease. You smear it on, and instantly regret it. The smell alone could knock out a condor. Still, you keep going. Because as an elite, you now carry messages that could shift provincial power, redirect armies, or determine which region gets this year's best crop of cotton. You're expected to remember details. The names of governors, the dialects of even what gifts are culturally appropriate when delivering bad news. This week, you're heading into Amara territory, far from the Quechua-speaking core. The people here are proud, a little guarded, and extremely sensitive about how messages are delivered. You practice their greeting phrase under your breath as you climb toward the next outpost. Kamizaraki Nyaksa. Hello, I am the messenger. Historians still debate how much autonomy elite Chaskis had. Some argue they were glorified couriers, always under watch. Others believe they doubled as low-level spies tasked, not only with message delivery, but with observation. You've done your share of watching. On your last run, you noticed a storage hut being stocked with maize twice the expected amount. You reported it. A week later, a new Micmac population was relocated. Coincidence? You don't think so. In many ways, you're more than a runner. You're a sensor, a moving part of the Empire's brain. The Kipu delivers data. Yes, but you see, what the cords can't capture. The mood of the people, the condition of the roads, the tension in a village chief's voice. Sometimes, you're told to ask questions. Other times, you're told to simply observe. And sometimes, you learn things you wish you hadn't. Like the village 2 days south, where children have stopped growing. Or the Tampa where the food supplies have rotted from the inside out. Or the whisper you overheard from a guard about a noble's sudden illness that wasn't natural. You report everything, carefully, neutrally. Like your job depends on it, because it does. By nightfall, you arrive at a larger tampo near a lake clear water reflecting stars like polished obsidian. The place is well kept, with clean mats, actual candles, and a stew pot bubbling gently over a central fire. You almost cry. You sit with another elite runner. He's older, scar down his cheek, feet wrapped in layers of cotton. He's sharpening a bone needle while humming a tune you vaguely recognize. He glances at your kipu pouch. Special. You nod. He doesn't ask what it says, just grunts and returns to his needle. Elite runners don't pry. You've all carried messages that weren't yours to read, but were heavy all the same. And you've all known what it feels like to arrive a moment to let and wonder who suffered because of it. You sleep well that night, maybe the best in weeks. The mattress is still straw, but someone stuffed it tight. The room is warm, there are no rats. And when you wake at dawn, the keeper hands you a roll of sweetened maize wrapped in banana leaf. You could get used to this, but you won't. Because tomorrow, your feet hit the road again. And the Empire still depends on you to keep running, blisters and all. You're crouched beside a tampu fire, pretending to rub your ankles. But really, you're watching a group of villagers too closely involved in a whispered conversation for comfort. One of them keeps glancing at the road. Another holds a bundle wrapped too tightly to be casual. Their eyes flick toward you now and then just long enough to seem guilty, then quickly away. You're not here by accident. Today's run didn't involve a key. Instead, you were handed a sealed pouch, stitched shut with lama thread, and marked with a black and yellow ribander. Color of the Sapa Inca's direct agents. No explanation, just a nod and a phrase. Observe, report, say nothing. So here you are, pretending to be a weary Chaski chewing coca like always, soaking your feet in a pot of warm water. when really you're on a secret assignment. You're not sure when they've started this side of the job where the quippers are blank, and the real message is whatever you see along the way. The Empire needs eyes as much as it needs legs. These villagers, they're hiding something. You can tell by the tension, the way no one offered you food, even though tradition demands they share chicha or roasted maize. The way a boy scurried away as soon as you arrived, and the fact that the Tampu keeper isn't here. You've seen this before. Rebellious villagers, smuggling, sometimes priests carrying rumors of strange gods, other times a noble stirring up dissent. The Inca have real ones, but sometimes the best intelligence comes from someone no one notices, a sweaty footsore courier who's just passing through. So you take your time, sharpen your knife, check your pouch, retie your sandals. All excuses to sit quietly and watch. Historians still argue whether the Chaskis were truly part of the Inca intelligence network. Some evidence suggests Yesaranas often brought verbal messages in addition to quippers, and had strict memory training to hold details without writing them down. Others think it's a modern embellishment, but you know better. You've heard too many off-the-record instructions, seen too many eyes go wide when you arrive early. You've walked into villages that immediately shut up and started acting busy. It doesn't take a spy to know when something's wrong, just someone who's passed through enough places to spot what isn't normal. You're finishing a strip of sea haki when a man approaches. He's got the stiff gait of someone pretending to be relaxed. "You headed north?" he asks. You nod. He looks over his shoulder, then offers a pouch. Some food. For the road. You take it, nodding thanks. But when he leaves, you don't open it. Not yet. Instead, you tuck it into your sash, wait until night, and check the contents, under starlight. And a note. Just a scrap of cloth, tucked into the folds. It's knotted like a child's plaything, but you recognize the pattern. It's code. A kipu whisper, meant for someone else. Your fingers tingle. This isn't part of your official run. But someone tried to use you as a mule for a secret message. You burn the cloth in the Tampu fire. All of it. No chances. The next morning, you report the attempt with a subtle phrase as you pass your replacement, the sealed pouch. The road's quiet. Too quiet. He nods once. Message received. You move on. The next few days return to routine. Dirt roads, llamas, heat and hunger. But you carry the tension with you. That encounter sharpened your awareness. You begin watching even the birds more closely. The number of guards at each the quality of supplies, even the condition of the stone roads. Any breakage could hint at neglected maintenance or sabotage. In one village, you spot something strange. A new idol at the edge of the plaza. It doesn't resemble any official god of the empire. Too many arms, wrong symbols. You mention it casually to a Tampu keeper, and he stiffens, then pretends not to have heard. Another note for later. This is the hidden weight of being a Chaski. Not just the cords and knots, not just the distance, but the eyes behind your eyes, the quiet noticing, the mental catalog of threats and changes. You've even learned to memorize conversations. There's a trick. Link each sentence to a part of your body. Elbow, thumb, kneecap. That way, you can replay the memory later, like a song on a drum. The older Chaskis taught you that one. Tonight, your body is heavy, but your mind races. You lie awake under the Tampu roof, listening to the night sounds. The rustle of grass, the soft pad of a fox's paws, and behind all of it, the low hum of secrets moving beneath the skin of the empire. You're not just a runner anymore. You're trusted, and that means you're also watched. They warned you about the altitude sickness, the twisted ankles, the cold, but no one mentioned the whispers. You first hear them after a 3-day run through mountain passes, so steep your legs cramp just remembering them. The kind of climb where your feet bleed through your sandals and your heartbeat echoes off the cliffs. You reach the Tampu, collapse on a mat, and just as sleep pulls you under, you hear your name. Not spoken, breathe. You bolt upright. The Tampu is empty. The fire has gone out. Shadows shift on the walls, cast by nothing. You lie back down. And it happens again, only this time. The voice says something more. 3 words, slurred like a dream. Don't go back. Your skin prickles. The next morning, you dismiss it as fatigue, or hunger, or maybe the moldy potatoes from 2 Tampu. But when it happens again the next night, this time in a completely different location, you can't ignore it. A part of you knows you've encountered the curse of the Chaski. The old runners whisper about it when they think no one's listening. Tales of messengers who lose themselves in the rhythm of the road, who've run too long, too far, carrying too many secrets. They stop speaking, stop sleeping, Some disappear entirely. Others are found mumbling kipu patterns to birds. Some call it spirit sickness. Others call it the breath of the mountains. You start to wonder what's real. One afternoon, as you rest beside a carved waystone, you see a runner on the far ridge, tunic flapping, sandals silent. You raise your hand. He doesn't wave back. He just turns and disappears behind a boulder. But when you get there, no one, no footprints, just wind. That night, you have a dream. You're running, always running, but the road keeps folding in on itself. No tempest, no end, just the pounding of your own footsteps in your skull. You wake gasping. Your fellow runner, an older man with half a nose and eyes, like whetstone, glances at you. He says nothing, just passes you a coca leaf and mutters, "They follow those who don't rest." You take the leaf. Still, you run, because what choice do you have? The Empire doesn't stop for hallucinations, but you start paying attention to the signs. A kipu knot that wasn't there before. A tampu wall marked with unfamiliar symbols. A llama that won't cross a certain stretch of road. The way your own shadow sometimes seems to move out of sync. You start to fear the night tempers the most. They're too quiet. Too still. The stone echoes everything. Your breath, your heartbeat, even the memories you wish would shut up. At one of them, carved into a cliff and built beside a frozen waterfall, the tampu keeper won't look you in the eye. He tells you to sleep outside, under the ledge. Why? You ask. He shrugs. This place echoes. He won't say more. You lie under the ledge that night, wrapped tight in your worn cloak, and sure enough something echoed. It's not your breath, not your steps. It's someone else's run, soft, rhythmic, endless. But when you look, no one's there. Historians still debate the mental toll of Chaski life. Some believe the runners developed unique meditative states, long distance, trance running. Others say the symptoms align more with trauma. Sleep, disruption, hallucination, paranoia. The Empire recorded none of it. You were expected to run, that was all. But among messengers, there's a name for those who break, the knotted. As in, he went knotted. As in, her eyes went wide, like kipu cords pulled too tight. You've seen it. One runner only a few months ago arrived at a tampu holding a stick instead of the message. No kipu, just a branch wrapped in feathers. When asked where he'd been, he said, "I ran into the earth. They sent him back to Cusco, he never returned." So now, you pace yourself, you sleep when you can, you whisper prayers into the wind, you talk to your sandals, to the coca leaves, to the birds. You do what you have to do to stay grounded, because you've run too far to lose your mind now. Even when you hear your name again, even when the road curves in a way it never has before, even when a tampu keeper quietly presses a pinch of ground obsidian into your hand and says, "For protection," you carry it with you, because you never know what's waiting at the next bend. And whatever it is, you plan to face it running. You hear them before you see them, the sound of boots, not sandals, metal striking stone, heavier than what any Inca wears. You freeze behind a tamarind tree, one hand on your kipo pouch, the other on your sash. The air feels off, sharp, foreign. Then they appear, strangers, pale faces, hair like dry straw, clothes stiff with leather and metal, eyes scanning everything, like they plan to take it all. The Spanish, you've heard rumors for weeks now, whispers and tampers, quick glances between keepers, stories of floating houses on the sea, of thundersticks that kill from far away, of men who ride beasts with long faces and metal shoes. Now those rumors have breath. They pass by without seeing you, and you stay low, heart. One of them spits onto the trail, mutters something in a language that doesn't bend like yours does. Another holds a small figure carved wood, painted red, pressing it to his lips as he walks. It's real now. The Empire is changing. You run, not in fear, exactly, in urgency, because your job just changed, whether you wanted it to or not. You're no longer just a courier. You're now a thread between two worlds that no longer understand each other. Your instructions were vague. Head south. Deliver the kipu if you see anything unusual, ... You remember everything. At the next tampu you report. Quietly. The keeper's eyes go wide when you describe the boots. The pale skin. The long metal spears that glinted in the sun. He says nothing, but you see him making marks in the dirt, counting how many you saw. You ask if he's ever seen anything like it. Once, he says. Years ago, on the coast they came and left, like birds, but this time, they're nesting. That night, you don't sleep. You stare at the ceiling of the tampu hut and wonder what the Empire will do, how fast messages like yours can travel, how fast decisions can be made, because if you saw the strangers, others have too. And Chaski's like you are now running like never before, carrying warnings. Some tampers are starting to empty. The keeper's gone. The food store's ransacked. Others are full of tension, more runners than usual, more guards. You pass military garrisons where soldiers don't even acknowledge you. They're too busy sharpening weapons, fletching arrows, building defenses. The roads are changing. So, is the mood? You begin hearing things you're not supposed to. A general speaking in low tones to his captain. Words like surrender and convert. Others saying resist and burn the bridges. And here you are, a runner, trapped between decisions made by men in palaces and swords, held by men who don't speak your language. Historians still argue whether Chaski's helped or hindered the Spanish advance. Some records claim runners betrayed messages, misdirected troops. Others insist they were loyal until the end, trying to hold a splintering world together with nothing but feet and willpower. You don't know what you'll do yet. But that changes when you're handed a new kind of message. Not a bundle of colored cords tied in a very specific, very coded way. You recognize the pattern it's an ancient war signal, one rarely used. The colors say defend, the knots say immediate. You're told it's for a highland province where resistance is building. You tuck it into your sash, press your hand over your heart, and take off, faster than you've ever run. But partway through the journey, you stop. A village stands ahead, quiet, too quiet. You step cautiously toward it, and what you see makes your chest go cold. Corpses, not many, lying by the well face down, their clothing ripped. No sign of the attackers, but the signs are clear. Metal wounds, not arrows, not slings, straight lines, sliced clean. The strangers came through here. You bury them, fast. You're not a priest, but you say, what words, sprinkle dust, offer coca. It's all you can do. Then you run again, faster this time. Not for glory, not for the empire, for the people. You reach the province's edge at sunset. Deliver the cords into the waiting hands of a warrior chief, with sun tattoos down his arms. He says nothing, just grips the cords like they're a torch. He nods. So do you. It's begun. Whatever this next part of the story is, you're part of it. Now, and when the sun rises tomorrow, your feet will carry the next signal. You're no longer running between you're running through history, breaking apart. The message you carry today is heavier than gold, not because of its weight, but because of what it means. You're holding a Semenza final attempt by a Highland commander to rally forces, reroute food stores, and prepare defenses against the tide of metal and fire that's already licking at the Empire's edges. The cords are thick, stiff with meaning. Black and red, twisted together symbols of war and blood. The knots are sharp, layered, urgent. You don't need to know every detail to feel the gravity. This isn't a census. This isn't a crop report. This is a call to arms. And you're the one tasked with delivering it. You don't even bother eating before you leave. You wrap the message in oilcloth, shove it into your sash, tie your sandals tighter than usual, and start running. Your legs burn immediately, like they know what's coming. But you don't stop. This route leads through narrow ridges, old mining paths, and roads so neglected even the llamas won't use them. It's dangerous, but it's fast. And now, speed is everything. The first tampu you pass is abandoned. That's new. No fire, no keeper. The door swings open with the wind. A single bowl sits overturned beside a crushed water gourd. You don't stop. The second tampu has someone, barely, a teenager wide-eyed and shivering, hiding behind a stack of woven mats. They passed through yesterday, he whispers. The ones with horses. You nod. You run. Because now, you're closer to something big. You descend into a valley where the shadows stretch long and thin, like fingers reaching for your ankles. The road curves sharply, and suddenly you're not alone. 5 of them, all standing around a fire, packs full, legs dirty, eyes alert. One turns, recognizes you, and grins. Finally, he says, "We thought we were the only ones left." You join the circle. The mood is tense, but electric. You all carry the same kind of message, sealed urgent, coded in fire. Each of you is heading to a different direction, different province. Same goal, have you heard? One says quietly, Cusco might fall. You shake your head, but your stomach drops. That fast? Another Chaski asks. Fuster says the first. They say the Sapa Inca himself is missing. A silence spreads through the circle like fog. None of you know what to say. You've trained for everything, endless runs, steep climbs, jungle crossings. But not this, not an empire without its sun. Eventually, you all agree to split at dawn. Each of you will continue. No one turns back. Not yet. Historians still argue about the final days of the Chaski network. Some claim it disbanded rapidly, overtaken by the Spanish and their horses. Others say runners continued long after Cusco fell, delivering defiance and coordination across a dying empire. Tonight, you believe the second version, because you are living it. You sleep lightly under the stars, a rock for your pillow, your legs still twitching from the day's run. In the middle of the night, you wake to the sound of footsteps. One of the other runners is pacing, muttering something under his breath. You sit up, listen. He's reciting the message. Over and over. The words are gone, but the pattern is perfect. In the morning, you split. You run alone again, but not the same way as before. Now, every tampu you pass feels fragile. Temporary. Like they might vanish behind you. You take mental snapshots of everything. How the stones are laid. Which mountain peaks sit behind each trail bend. What color the sky is before it burns orange at dusk. You reach your destination in the evening. A fortress down carved into the hillside. Guards wave you through before you speak. They've been waiting. You deliver the cord into a woman's hands, broad-shouldered, eyes sharp. No time for pleasantries. She reads it with her fingers, nods once, and snaps an order to a waiting boy. Moments later, runners scatter. Bells ring. Smoke curls upward from the town's central fire tower, signal to the next outpost. You did it. You delivered something more than a message. You delivered momentum. As you sit on a low wall, drinking chicha from a clay cup, a young boy stares at you. You're a Chaski, he whispers. You nod. Did you see them? The pale ones? You nod again. He frowns. My brother says they can't bleed. You smile faintly. Then your brother hasn't seen them fall. He looks shocked. Then he laughs. You stand, stretch, feel your joints pop. There's no one left to tell you to run. No orders for now, but your feet itch. Your heart still thumps in rhythm with the roads. And you know what comes next. The last run, the one that really matters. You recognize the sound before you see the shape. A hollow clop hooves on stone. Not a llama, heavier, more deliberate, like a drum beat from another world. A horse. You duck behind a low stone wall just off the trail, heart pounding, quipu pouch pressed to your chest. Through a crack, you glimpse them. For Spanish riders, helmets catching the sun, muskets slung across their backs, metal jingling like skeletons in armor. One of them laughs sharp, barking. It echoes too loud across the slope. They don't see you. You hold your breath until your chest aches, the wind tugging at your cloak. Then they move on. You count to 30 before standing. This is it. The empire is truly split now. You've run from jungle to mountaintop, through whispering tampas and cursed silence. You've carried messages that kept villagers alive, and now you run on roads lined with bones. Literally. 2 kilometers ahead, you pass a cluster of half-buried sandals, still looped with faded cords. Next to them, a crumpled pouch. Blood-stained. You don't stop. You don't want to know who it was. You just bow your head and whisper a few words to the wind. The other Chaskis are gone now, dispersed, hide-in, or worse. There's no backup, no relay. You are the last runner on this stretch. The message in your pouch is tied with a triple black cord. You've never seen that before. It vibrates with urgency. The knots are packed close, meant for someone with eyes and fingers trained in the deepest codes. And it's going to Vilcabamba, the last stronghold of the Inca resistance. Historians still puzzle over Vilcabamba's role. Was it a final capital? A hiding place? A battlefield? You don't care what future scholars say. You just know it's the only place left that feels like home. The trail narrows. You're alone. Truly alone. No tampas, now just open country. Forest and cliff. You chew the last of your coca leaves, blood buzzing, legs stiff, sandals ragged. By midday, you stop to drink from a glacial stream, cold enough to hurt. You clean a wound you didn't notice across your forearm, a shallow scrape that's crusted, dark. You chew charqui slowly, swallowing hard. Every bite tastes like urgency. That's when you hear it. Footsteps, not hooves, not sandals. Bare feet, light on stone. You spin, hand on your pouch. A boy, maybe 10, staring at you. He doesn't speak. You kneel. You shouldn't be here. You whisper. He doesn't blink. Then, slowly, he points toward the ridge. You look. Smoke. not battle smoke. Cooking. A camp, a message post, a rebel lookout. You stand, nod once, and begin to run again. Faster now. The boy watches you go. By dusk, the trail is nearly gone overgrown, reclaimed by forest. You push through vines and branches, thorns tearing your tunic. Your sandals catch on roots. You fall, twice, scrape your knee open. Still, you run for Nolia clearing. And there they are, Inca warriors, way in, watching. One steps forward, tall, face streaked with ash, tunic dyed red from shoulder to hem. You barely speak, you just hold out the cord. He takes it, and for a long time, he says nothing. Then he turns to the others. They nod. Someone raises a conch shell and blows it once, deep and long. The sound rolls through the trees like thunder. Others begin moving, gathering packs, sharpening weapons, lighting torches. Something is happening. Your message was the signal. One of them turns to you. You came alone. You nod. He claps your shoulder. Then you are the last runner, and that's when you notice behind them another Chaski, older, limping, burned scars on his arm. He nods at you, holds up an empty pouch. Mine was the second to last, he says with a smile. And for the first time in weeks, you laugh. It's dry, tired, cracked, like your lips, but real. You sit that night by the fire, no tampoo, no stone walls, just grass and dirt and the sky above. You chew coca. You soak your feet in a shallow stream. You breathe. No one tells you to run tomorrow. No one hands you a cord. You've delivered your final message. The Empire has heard, and now, whether it stands or falls, you've done your part. Your legs ache, but they are finally still. After so many thousands of steps, they no longer twitch in your sleep. No invisible rope pulls you forward. No voice calls your name in the dark. For the first time in who knows how long, you are allowed to rest, but rest doesn't mean silence. The camp at Vilcabamba pulses with quiet energy. Firelight dances on bare stone. Armor glints in the shadows, and the air feels heavy with the weight of something ancient and breaking, like you're standing inside a vase that's just cracked, but hasn't yet shattered. You're not running anymore, but the others still move around you. Runners come and go. Scouts whisper reports. A warrior chief barks orders in Quechua while a boy scribbles something on palm bark foreign script. Sharp and foreign-looking. Even the jungle hums louder than usual, as if nature itself knows the Empire is unraveling. You sip chicha and sit with the elder Chaski, the one with the burn scars. He stares into the fire like it's a map only he can read. Do you think it's over? You ask. He doesn't answer right away. He just plucks a blade of grass and twists it around his finger. Finally, he says, no, it just changes shape. You're not sure if he means the Empire, or the job, or maybe something deeper, something about duty, about how it crawls under your skin, wraps around your bones, and becomes part of you, whether you like it or not. That night you sleep. Really sleep. No visions, no whispers, just dark. But in the morning, there's news. The last holdout has fallen. The Sapa Inca is gone, captured or vanished. No one knows. Some say he escaped into the forest. Others say the gods took him. Some say he walks still, barefoot and invisible, whispering orders into the wind. Vilcabamba prepares to You are given a choice. Stay and disappear with the last loyalists. Live as a farmer, a weaver, a fisherman. Blend into the land that birthed you. You choose neither. You choose the road. Not for messages, not for orders, but because you can't help it. The rhythm of it, the sound of your own footsteps on the stones. The knowledge that someone, somewhere, is waiting. Maybe not for a key, maybe not for a report, but for a story. So you go, you pass abandoned tampas, now overgrown with moss and vines. You cross rope bridges that creak with age, but still hold. You kneel by the bones of runners who never finished their last route. You whisper their names if you know them. Invent names if you don't. You walk the spine of the Empire, alone, but not lost. Because every wind still carries echoes of your kind. Every stone road still remembers the slap of sandals. The land is full of memories, full of messengers. And you, even now, are still one of them. Your sash is fit. Your kipu cords hang like decoration symbols, not tools. But your back is straight, your stride strong. The road accepts you, as it always has. One afternoon, you stop at a crumbling tampoo near the sea. The walls are cracked. The roof has caved. But there's still a fire ring, and a flat patch of earth where once runners like you slept in shifts. You sit, and for the first time, you speak your story out loud. The cold nights, the jungle sweat, the dead roads, the silent tampers, the cursed whispers, the breathless runs, the bridge sways, the messages, the knots, the silence, the empire, all of it, you speak, and the wind carries it, because the empire may have fallen, but the Chaskis never stopped running, and never will. Word count 1084. Now your legs are still, your breath comes slow, and around you, the world softens. The Tampu walls fade into the dark. The stars above blur like gentle candle flames. The wind no longer whistles, it hums, soft and low, like a lullaby made of leaves. You're not a runner now, not tonight, not anymore. You're a watcher, a keeper of stories, a thread from the past, resting after a long weave through time. The stones beneath you are warm. The road is quiet, and far away, a single flute plays faint, broken, but beautiful. Its notes drift like mist across the hills, circling through memory and dream. You let it carry you. Your body feels heavy in the best way, anchored, done. Each muscle sighs. Each joint unwinds. The dirt beneath your fingers feels like a blanket. The stars above, a ceiling just for you. Breathe, again and again. Let the footsteps fade. Let the messages fade. Let the names and places and histories drift like clouds over distant peaks. You did what was asked. More than was asked. You carried the light of an empire across cliffs and jungles and rivers. And even though the world has changed, your path still remains. Quiet, waiting, holding space for what was. So now, close your eyes. Let the road disappear behind you. Let the silence stretch wide and deep and safe. Sleep, runner. The empire can wait.